It's easy to stand in the crowd, but it takes courage to stand alone. Loneliness is not lack of company, loneliness is lack of purpose. The woman who follows the crowd will usually go no further than the crowd. The woman who walks alone is likely to find herself in places no one has ever been before. Loneliness adds beauty to life. It puts a special burn on sunsets and makes night air smell better. The thing that makes you exceptional, if you are at all, is inevitably that which makes you lonely. Time spent undistracted and alone, in self-examination, journaling, meditation, resolves the unresolved and takes us from mentally fat to fit. When they are alone, they want to be with others, and when they are with others, they want to be alone. After all, human beings are like that. The price of being a sheep is boredom. The price of being a wolf is loneliness. Choose one or the other with great care. Ordinary men hate solitude, but the master makes use of it, embracing his aloneness, realizing he is one with the whole universe. Nothing can bring you peace but yourself. Loneliness is the poverty of self. Solitude is the richness of self. Feeling lonely is fine. Staying this way forever is not. The loneliness you feel is actually an opportunity to reconnect with others and yourself. If you are never alone, you cannot know yourself. There is nothing outside of yourself. Look within. By all means use sometimes to be alone. Salute thyself, see what thy soul doth wear. We feel alone, and in this we are connected. Every single human being who is alive has felt this kind of pain, hopelessness, and loneliness at one time or another. We are all connected through this shared pain and struggle. Our Great Depression is our lives. We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires, and movie gods, and rock stars, but we won't. We're slowly learning that fact, and we're very, very pissed off. The worst part of holding the memories is not the pain, it's the loneliness of it. Memories need to be shared. If you look to others for fulfillment, you will never truly be fulfilled. Remember never to say that you are alone, for you are not alone. Nay, God is within, and your genius is within. What a lovely surprise to discover how unlonely being alone can be. You cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with. If you are afraid of being lonely, don't try to be right. I don't mind being alone, I just don't want to be part of the crowd. The reality is life is a single-player game. You're born alone. You're going to die alone. All of your interpretations are alone. All your memories are alone. You're gone in 3 generations and nobody cares. Before you showed up, nobody cared. It's all single-player. We feel guilt when we no longer want to associate with old friends and colleagues who haven't changed. The price and marker of growth. We're used to constantly judging things. The act of judging something separates you from that thing. Over time, as you judge, you invariably judge people. You judge yourself, you separate yourself from everything, and then you end up lonely. That feeling of disconnection, loneliness, is eventually what leads to suffering. Be strong enough to stand alone, smart enough to know when you need help, and brave enough to ask for it. He whose mind is not steady does not find happiness either amongst the people or in the solitude of the forest. When alone, he longs for company, and when in company, he longs for solitude. Although I am a typical loner in my daily life, my awareness of belonging to the invisible community of those who strive for truth, beauty, and justice has prevented me from feelings of isolation. If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music which he hears, however measured or far away. We don't need sugar, flour, or rice or anything else. We just want to see our dear ones. Inside myself is a place where I live all alone, and that's where I renew my springs that never dry up. A lonely day is God's way of saying that He wants to spend some quality time with you. The crowds poison too much time and you end up like them. Retreat to yourself, the only safe place. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. It is strange to be known so universally and yet to be so lonely. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. I want to be with those who know secret things or else alone. Loneliness and the feeling of being unwanted is the most terrible poverty. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. What the superior man seeks is in himself. What the small man seeks is in others. Music was my refuge. I could crawl into the space between the notes and curl my back to loneliness. I loved to be alone. I never found the companion that was so companionable as solitude. A great fire burns within me, but no one stops to warm themselves at it, and passers-by only see a wisp of smoke. Sometimes it is necessary to be lonely in order to prove that you are right. Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. I came alone in this world. I have walked alone in the valley of the shadow of death, and I shall quit alone when the time comes. Love and compassion open our own inner life, reducing stress, distrust, and loneliness. I restore myself when I'm alone. I don't want to be alone. I want to be left alone. The worst loneliness is to not be comfortable with yourself. Only the self-sufficient stand alone. Most people follow the crowd and imitate. I am here for you. I'm a lion in a strange land. I became strong because I was lonely. Solitude vivifies, isolation kills. I might be alone, but I'm never lonely. Loneliness is one thing, solitude another. A man thinking or working is always alone. Large groups are no place for smart people. Where will you find the virtuous man? Alone. I like to be alone, but I hate being lonely. What loneliness is more lonely than distrust? If one's different, one's bound to be lonely. If you can't live alone, you are born a slave. Chance never helps those who do not help themselves. Don't feel lonely, the entire universe is inside you. Because he accepts himself, the whole world accepts him. Loneliness, when accepted, is a gift that will lead us to find a purpose in life. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. All great and precious things are lonely. As soon as I realized happiness was internal and that I was the only one responsible for it, I stopped feeling lonely. I wish I could show you when you are lonely or in darkness the astonishing light of your own being. I owe everything that I have done to the fact that I am very much at ease being alone. Know that even if you feel alone, you are not alone. I, for one, am connected to you because I'm thinking of you. All of you. I'm connected to you because I too have suffered in similar ways. We have shared pain, shared hopelessness, shared loneliness. I can't take away your pain, but I can offer you two miracles: the love that comes from turning toward other human beings, and the connection we have to everyone on earth. Is it so bad then to be misunderstood? Pythagoras was misunderstood, and Socrates, and Jesus, and Luther, and Copernicus, and Galileo, and Newton, and every pure and wise spirit that ever took flesh. To be great is to be misunderstood. Be yourself, no base imitator of another, but your best self. There is something which you can do better than another. Listen to the inward voice and bravely obey that. Do the things at which you are great, not what you were never made for. If you go deeper and deeper into your own heart, you'll be living in a world with less fear, isolation, and loneliness. The ultimate power in life is to be completely self-reliant, completely yourself. I prefer winter and fall, when you feel the bone structure of the landscape, the loneliness of it, the dead feeling of winter. Something waits beneath it. The whole story doesn't show. I am completely a loner. In my head, I want to feel I can be anywhere. There is a sort of recklessness that being a loner allows me. It's okay to feel lonely sometimes. We are human, and to feel is to live. Loneliness is a feeling just like any other. Happiness, joy, etc. If we don't feel lonely sometimes, how would we feel when we are happy and joyous? If you want to be in the top 1% of a particular domain, then you can't take your cues from and follow the social norms of 99% of people. This is harder than it sounds. We are wired to imitate. The further you want to climb, the more carefully you need to construct your tribe. Work in silence. It is the silent work, the work done in solitude, done purely in principle and conviction, driven by a force of purpose that separates men. I am thankful to all those who said no. It's because of them I did it myself. Nothing can dim the light that shines from within. Great spirits have always found violent opposition from mediocrities. You are never alone. You are eternally connected with everyone. Either give me more wine or leave me alone. There is a guy in the coffee shop sitting alone and drinking coffee like a crazy person. No phone, no laptop, no smartwatch, no book, just coffee, alone with his thoughts. To be successful, one has to be one of three Bs: the queen bee, the hardest working bee, or the bee that does not fit in. Yes, I guess you could say I am a loner, but I feel more lonely in a crowded room with boring people than I feel on my own. Solitude is fine, but you need someone to tell that solitude is fine. The irony of loneliness is we all feel it at the same time, together. So you're a little weird. Work it. A little different. Own it. Better to be a nerd than one of the herd. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Snore and you sleep alone. Sometimes a scream is better than a thesis. Solitude can be tolerated only up to a certain limit, you know. I am a real lone wolf who has never wholeheartedly belonged to the state, to my country, my circle of friends, and not even to my family, but who, despite all these bonds, has constantly experienced a feeling of strangeness and the need for solitude. I'm so scared of dying without ever being really seen. Can you understand? We're all lonely for something we don't know we're lonely for. How else to explain the curious feeling that goes around feeling like missing somebody we've never even met? After 10 years of depression and loneliness, I realized the person I missed the most was not another, but myself. Human beings can't bear silence. It would mean that they would bear themselves. We're all islands shouting lies to each other across seas of misunderstanding. No one has ever properly understood me. I have never fully understood anyone, and no one understands anyone else. It is not up to others to protect or help you. You are on your own. No one is really going to help you or give you direction. We must all die alone, which really means that our pain is for us alone to endure. Others can throw us words of encouragement, but in every life, we are out on the ocean drowning in the swell, and others, even the nice ones, are standing on the shore, waving cheerily. Loneliness is the longing for connection. To feel lonely is to join the rest of humanity in acknowledging the painful reality that we are somehow fundamentally separated from each other, never to be fully understood. Reality is neutral. Our reactions reflect back and create our world. Judge and feel separate and lonely. Anger and lose peace of mind. Cling and live in anxiety. Fantasize and miss the present. Desire and suffer until you have it. Heaven and hell are right here, right now. Every man alone is sincere. At the entrance of a second person, hypocrisy begins. The person who tries to live alone will not succeed as a human being. His heart withers if it does not answer another heart. His mind shrinks away if he hears only the echoes of his own thoughts and finds no other inspiration. You evolved to hunt and fight and create and connect, not sit at home and watch TV and cram pizza into your intestines all the damn time. No wonder you feel sad, lonely, and depressed. In fact, it would be surprising if you didn't. Most people keep eating not because they're hungry, but because they're bored. A man is born alone and dies alone, and he experiences the good and bad consequences of his karma alone, and he goes alone to hell, or the supreme abode. If you want to live a miserable life, then blame everyone for your problems and never take responsibility for anything. If a man cannot understand the beauty of life, it is probably because life never understood the beauty in him. Isn't it funny that at Christmas something and you get so lonely for, I don't know what exactly, but it's something that you don't mind so much not having at other times. The loneliest moment in someone's life is when they are watching their whole world fall apart and all they can do is stare blankly. Being alone never felt right. Sometimes it felt good, but it never felt right. The price for independence is often isolation and solitude. To find yourself, think for yourself. Loneliness is a tax we have to pay to atone for a certain complexity of mind. A high degree of loneliness is an inexorable part of being a sensitive and intelligent human. It's a built-in feature of a complex existence. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Loneliness is a sign you are in desperate need of yourself. Loneliness can be both a prerequisite and byproduct of greatness. Loneliness is cured by contact with yourself. Boredom is a defense mechanism to avoid having to sit alone with our unaddressed thoughts. If you can only learn from people that you 100% agree with on everything, it's going to be a dark and lonely life. In the long run, every pain is a gift. Alternate between the solitary and the social, whether alone or with others. Keep serenity. Loneliness can be conquered alone by those who can bear solitude. Let us dare to have solitude, to face the eternal, to find others, to see ourselves. The best way to get approval is not to need it. Modern society gives us incredible flexibility in that we can get away from our crazy family members, and we're not destined to die where we were born or do what our parents did, so we have incredible freedom. But then coming with it is this tremendous loneliness that we try and cover up either through drugs or alcohol or partying, even trying to find a mission like putting people on Mars. But the reality is a lot of that loneliness just comes from being disconnected from growing up with your tribal environment. Our thought is easily influenced by the presence of another soul. A person can be completely free only when he is alone. The only way to survive is to admit you are on your own, learn to make your own decisions, and trust your judgment. When you're alone, watch your thoughts. When you're successful, watch your ego. When you've got problems, watch your emotions. When you're with the crowds, watch what you say. You have your way, I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist. What is needed is this, and this alone: solitude, great inner loneliness, going into oneself and not meeting anyone for hours. That is what one must arrive at. It is good to be solitary, for solitude is difficult. That something is difficult must be a reason the more for us to do it. Love is the only sane and satisfactory answer to the problem of human existence. The more powerful and original a mind, the more it will incline towards the religion of solitude. Introversion is my greatest strength. I have such a strong inner life that I'm never bored and only occasionally lonely. No matter what mayhem is happening around me, I know I can always turn inward. I find it wholesome to be alone the greater part of the time. To be in company, even with the best, is soon wearisome and dissipating. I love to be alone. I never found the companion that was so companionable as solitude. The strongest men are the most alone. Solitude gives birth to the original in us, to beauty unfamiliar and perilous, to poetry, but also it gives birth to the opposite, to the perverse, the illicit, the absurd. I live in that solitude which is painful in youth, but delicious in the years of maturity. The soul that sees beauty may sometimes walk alone. The only time we waste is the time we spend thinking we are alone. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom, for it is only when he is alone that he is really free. Remember, the time you feel lonely is the time you most need to be by yourself, life's cruelest irony. Accept your own aloneness and stick to it all your life, and then accept the times when the gap is filled in, when they come, but they've got to come. You can't force them. The greatest thing in the world is to know how to belong to oneself. Fiction is one of the few experiences where loneliness can be both confronted and relieved. These are the places where loneliness is countenanced, stared down, transfigured, treated. I have to be alone very often. I'd be quite happy if I spent from Saturday night until Monday morning alone in my apartment. That's how I refuel. I am stronger than depression and I am braver than loneliness, and nothing will ever exhaust me. Many people suffer from the fear of finding oneself alone, and so they don't find themselves at all. If you are alone, you belong entirely to yourself. If you are accompanied by even one companion, you belong only half to yourself. My imagination functions much better when I don't have to speak to people. But your solitude will be a support and a home for you, even in the midst of very unfamiliar circumstances, and from it, you will find all your paths. I think it's good for a person to spend time alone. It gives them an opportunity to discover who they are. When I get lonely these days, I think, so be lonely, Liz. Learn your way around loneliness. Make a map of it. Sit with it for once in your life. Welcome to the human experience. When you're surrounded by all these people, it can be lonelier than when you're by yourself. You can be in a huge crowd, but if you don't feel like you can trust anyone or talk to anybody, you feel like you're really alone. I've never been lonely. I like myself. I'm the best form of entertainment I have. Loneliness is the poverty of self. Solitude is richness of self. The real loneliness is living among all these kind people who only ask one to pretend. But many of us seek community solely to escape the fear of being alone. Knowing how to be solitary is central to the art of loving. When we can be alone, we can be with others without using them as a means of escape. Have you ever been lonely? No, neither have I. Solitary, yes. Alone, certainly. But lonely means minding about being on your own. I've never minded about it. Love your solitude and try to sing out with the pain it causes you. Cherish your solitude. Take trains by yourself to places you have never been. Whosoever is delighted in solitude is either a wild beast or a god. We live, in fact, in a world starved for solitude. silence, and private, and therefore starved for meditation and true friendship. Because once alone, it is impossible to believe that one could ever have been otherwise. Loneliness is an absolute discovery. If you wanted to do something absolutely honest, something true, it always turned out to be a thing that had to be done alone. My happiness will remain in everything with which God so generously surrounds human loneliness. It is in your power to withdraw yourself whenever you desire. Perfect tranquility within consists in the good ordering of the mind, the realm of your own. In order to be open to creativity, one must have the capacity for constructive use of solitude. One must overcome the fear of being alone. There is a certain strength in being alone. Loneliness is the human condition. Cultivate it. The way it tunnels into you allows your soul room to grow. I would rather sit on a pumpkin and have it all to myself than be crowded on a velvet cushion. Do not whine, do not complain, work harder, spend more time alone. I care for myself. The more solitary, the more friendless, the more unsustained I am, the more I will respect myself. Perhaps only people who are capable of real togetherness have that look of being alone in the universe. The others have a certain stickiness. They stick to the mass. What should young people do with their lives today? Many things, obviously, but the most daring thing is to create stable communities in which the terrible disease of loneliness can be cured. Some nights are made for reflection or the savoring of loneliness. Don't think you can frighten me by telling me that I am alone. France is alone, God is alone, and the loneliness of God is His strength. So many people are shut up tight inside themselves like boxes, yet they would open up, unfolding quite wonderfully, if only you were interested in them. Loneliness is something I've never been bothered with because I've always had this terrible itch for solitude. There are people who like to be alone without feeling lonely at all. The only sadnesses that are dangerous and unhealthy are the ones that we carry around in public in order to drown them out with the noise. Let me tell you this, if you meet a loner, no matter what they tell you, it's not because they enjoy solitude. It's because they have tried to blend into the world before, and people continue to disappoint them. To be of good quality, you have to excuse yourself from the presence of shallow and callow-minded individuals. The secret of a good old age is simply an honorable pact with solitude. To be left alone is the most precious thing one can ask of the modern world. The thing about living alone is that it gives you a lot of time to think. As regards intellectual work, it remains a fact, indeed, that great decisions in the realm of thought and momentous discoveries and solutions of problems are only possible to an individual working in solitude. The writer's curse is that even in solitude, no matter its duration, he never grows lonely or bored. I don't mind. I like being alone. In order to understand the world, one has to turn away from it on occasion. Solitude sometimes is best society. Solitude is a chosen separation for refining your soul. Isolation is what you crave when you neglect the first. Our language has wisely sensed these two sides of man's being alone. It has created the word loneliness to express the pain of being alone, and it has created the word solitude to express the glory of being alone. One of the most important things you can do on this earth is to let people know they are not alone. I am now quite cured of seeking pleasure in society, be it country or town. A sensible man ought to find sufficient company in himself. When the superficial wearies me, it wearies me so much that I need an abyss in order to rest. If you're lonely when you're alone, you're in bad company. We live as we dream, alone. The loneliness you feel with another person, the wrong person, is the loneliest of all. All I ever wanted was to reach out and touch another human being, not just with my hands, but with my heart. Lonely people tend, rather, to be lonely because they decline to bear the psychic costs of being around other humans. They are allergic to people. People affect them too strongly. I am lonely, yet not everybody will do. I don't know why. Some people fill the gaps and others emphasize my loneliness. Sometimes you need to sit lonely on the floor in a quiet room in order to hear your own voice and not let it drown in the noise of others. My loneliness was born when men praised my talkative faults and blamed my silent virtues. The trouble is not really in being alone, it's being lonely. One can be lonely in the midst of a crowd, don't you think? We have all known the long loneliness, and we have learned that the only solution is love, and that love comes with community. From that time on, the world was hers for the reading. She would never be lonely again, never miss the lack of intimate friends. Books became her friends, and there was one for every mood.